Dr. Kieran Hale had always been fascinated by alien life. Humanity had explored the stars for centuries, yet the galaxy was still full of surprises, and Lyris Prime promised one of the most extraordinary discoveries in decades. The planet, a lush world of towering crystal forests and floating rivers of luminescent water, had been uninhabited for thousands of years, or so they thought. Now, reports from orbital scans indicated intelligent life, and Kieran had been selected to study it. He stepped off the shuttle onto the soft, glowing moss of Lyris Prime, feeling the gentle hum of the planet beneath his boots. Every breath of air was rich and strange, carrying scents that made him feel both alert and peaceful at the same time. Kieran adjusted his field sensors and looked around. At first, he saw nothing but the massive crystal trees, swaying in a breeze he could not feel. Then, a flicker of movement caught his eye. A figure emerged from between the crystalline trunks, moving with a grace that seemed impossible for a creature of that size. She was humanoid, but with features that were unmistakably vulpine. Her ears were tall and expressive, and a long, bushy tail swished behind her as if it had a mind of its own. Her amber eyes glimmered with intelligence, and her clothing, crafted from the fibers of native plants, glimmered faintly in the soft light. "Welcome to Lyris Prime," she said, her voice melodic but firm. "I am Lyria. You must be Dr. Hale." Kieran bowed slightly, trying to hide his awe. "Yes. I've heard a lot about your work, Lyria. I hope we can learn from each other." Lyria's tail flicked once, a sign of curiosity or perhaps caution. "We can," she said. "But you should know, it is sensitive." Kieran raised an eyebrow. "Your tail?" "Who? Yes," Lyria said, a small smile playing on her lips. "It reacts to touch, especially from unfamiliar beings. It's part of how we interact with the environment." Kieran's mind raced. As a xenobiologist, he knew the importance of studying every biological quirk, but he also knew the need for caution. Still, curiosity won. He extended a finger slowly toward the tail. Lyria's eyes widened slightly, but she did not pull away. Kieran touched it gently. The moment his fingers brushed the fur, a subtle pulse ran along his hand. It was faint, almost like static, but it made the hairs on his arms stand on end. He looked at his instruments. "Interesting," he murmured. "Your bioelectric field. It's interacting with the sensors." Before he could analyze further, the ground beneath them trembled slightly. A faint hum filled the air, and strange symbols appeared on the moss. Glowing blue. Kieran froze, realizing that the tail's touch had triggered something. Lyria's ears flattened in alarm. "You've activated it," she said. "The ancient device beneath the surface, it's reacting." Kieran glanced around. The forest seemed unchanged, yet the hum grew louder. Small crystal formations in the trees flickered, casting shadows that danced like living creatures. It's a feedback loop," he said. "Your tail. It amplified some energy we didn't know was here." Lyria nodded, her tail twitching anxiously. "We discovered this device centuries ago. It regulates the planet's energy, keeps the ecosystems balanced. But humans, you are not used to interacting with it this way. Small actions can create big changes." Kieran swallowed. His mind raced with possibilities. The energy output was minor, but if left unchecked, it could escalate. "We need to study this carefully," he said. "We can't let it destabilize the planet." Lyria's tail swished thoughtfully. "You will have to work with me. I can guide you in reading the signals, but you must be careful. One wrong move, and the planet itself could react unpredictably." Kieran followed her through the crystal forest, each step revealing new wonders. Trees seemed alive in a way that defied explanation. Their trunks pulsed with faint light, and leaves whispered in a language he couldn't understand. Creatures with translucent wings darted past, leaving trails of glowing dust. Everywhere he looked, the world was vibrant and full of energy. They arrived at a clearing, where a circular platform of black stone rose slightly above the moss. Embedded in its center was a small device. Humming softly, covered in alien markings, Kieran crouched to examine it. His instruments confirmed the energy surge brief, but strong enough to affect nearby flora and fauna. "Your tail touched it," Lyria explained. "The device is ancient. It was built by a species long gone. They designed it to respond to biological signals. You triggered its alert mode." Kieran nodded, trying to remain calm. "We need to learn how it works, how to control it." "Can you help me interface with it?" Lyria hesitated, then nodded. "I can. But first, you must understand how the tail functions. It's not just hair and muscle, it senses energy, emotion, environmental shifts. It communicates directly with the device." For hours, Kieran and Lyria worked side by side. She taught him how to interpret subtle movements of the tail, how a flick or a curl could send signals through the ground, through the moss, and even through the air itself. He marveled at the complexity. Humanity had explored stars, but here was a species whose biology was as sophisticated as any machine they had built. Kieran felt a deep sense of admiration. Humans were clever, adaptable, and resourceful. But the Vulpine were something else entirely. Their biology had evolved in harmony with the planet, creating a symbiotic relationship that humans were only beginning to understand. He realized that if humanity ever hoped to explore the galaxy responsibly, they would have to learn from beings like Lyria. As the sun set, casting long, crystalline shadows across the forest, Kieran paused. "This is incredible," he said. "I never imagined a life form could be so intertwined with its environment." Lyria's tail twitched, brushing lightly against the platform. A soft glow spread from the device into the moss, bathing them in pale light. "It is a gift and a responsibility," she said. "This device has kept Lyris Prime alive for centuries. Now, we must ensure it continues to do so, even with humans here." Kieran looked at her, realizing the weight of their situation. What began as a simple curiosity touching a tail had revealed a connection between species, technology, and a planet itself, and he knew this was only the beginning. Suddenly, a deeper vibration shook the ground. Kieran's instruments went wild, detecting a faint signal approaching from the horizon. "What is that?" he asked. Eyes wide, Lyria's ears flattened. "Not native. Something is coming. We must prepare." Kieran's heart raced, but he felt a surge of determination. Humanity had faced the unknown before, using ingenuity, courage, and teamwork to survive. Now, alongside Lyria and her people, he would need every bit of that ingenuity. The device beneath their feet, the mysterious energies, and the approaching threat would all test him and humanity in ways he could not yet imagine. As darkness fell, the forest seemed alive with anticipation. The energy pulse from the tail had set events into motion, and Kieran understood that Lyris Prime held secrets beyond his wildest dreams. With Lyria guiding him, he stepped forward, ready to face whatever came next. Knowing that the bond between human and Vulpine might be the key to survival and to the discovery of something truly extraordinary. For the first time in his career, Kieran felt both small and limitless. A single human on a vast planet filled with wonder, challenges, and a future that depended on curiosity, courage, and collaboration. And he could not wait to see what would happen next. Kieran's mind raced as he followed Lyria deeper into the crystal forest. The hum from the ancient device beneath the clearing still pulsed faintly, like the heartbeat of the planet itself. Each step was cautious, as if the glowing moss beneath their feet could betray their presence. Lyria moved confidently, her tail swishing in precise, controlled motions that Kieran had begun to understand. Each flick or curl seemed to communicate with the device beneath the ground, and he realized just how delicate this interaction truly was. "This planet is alive in ways humans rarely see," Lyria explained, her eyes scanning the horizon. "Every movement, every energy pulse, affects the environment. That device, it is the core of Lyris Prime. If it destabilizes, The entire ecosystem could collapse. Kieran nodded, his thoughts still on the small tremor and the strange glow from the crystals. He had studied dangerous planets before, but nothing quite like this. Even a simple touch of Lyria's tail had triggered energy fluctuations. Now, as they walked, he could feel the hum of life vibrating through the air, through the moss, and even through his own body. It was both mesmerizing and terrifying. "Do you think the signal is something from this planet?" Kieran asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Lyria's ears twitched. "No. Something is coming from beyond Lyris Prime. Something not native. Your device readings are correct. They are approaching fast." Kieran's stomach tightened. They were unarmed, unprepared, and the strange humanoid creatures he had hoped to study peacefully might not be the only ones here. He glanced at the sky, the twin moons reflected in the rivers of luminescent water, painting the forest in pale blues and silvers, but the beauty offered no comfort. Danger was on the horizon. "Then we must act quickly," Lyria said. "I can help you interface with the device, but first, we need a safe location. The deeper ruins are our best chance." They followed a narrow path between the crystalline trees, winding through a series of natural bridges made of semi-transparent stone. Kieran's boots echoed softly, and every footstep seemed to amplify the hum of energy beneath the surface. It was as if the planet itself was aware of their movement, responding in quiet, subtle ways. After 20 minutes, they arrived at the edge of an ancient ruin. Massive stone arches loomed overhead, covered in glowing moss and intricate carvings that pulsed faintly with energy. Lyria's tail twitched excitedly as she approached the central chamber. "This is where we can work safely," she said. "The energy here is stable enough to interact with the device without causing major fluctuations. But even here, you must be careful." Kieran stepped forward, running his hand along the carvings. The stone felt warm, humming faintly under his fingertips. "These markings," he murmured. "They look like instructions, or perhaps warnings." Lyria nodded. "Both. The creators of this device were careful. They knew the energy could be dangerous in the wrong hands. That is why only a being attuned to the planet, like me, or someone who can learn quickly, like you, can interface with it safely." Kieran smiled faintly, though his nerves were still on edge. He had studied alien technologies before, but never one that responded directly to living creatures. He glanced at Lyria. "Teach me," he said. "I want to help. I want to make sure this planet is safe." Lyria studied him for a moment, then extended her tail, curling it gently toward the floor. A soft glow spread from the tip, reaching toward the device beneath the chamber. Kieran noticed a faint vibration in the ground, synchronizing with the glow. He realized that the tail wasn't just sensitive, it was a living interface, capable of transmitting biological signals that could control the device. "Watch closely," Lyria said. "Every flick, every curl of the tail corresponds to a command. You can learn to read it, but it will take focus." For the next hour, Kieran watched intently, taking mental notes and jotting down observations. He began to understand the rhythm, the patterns in the tail's movement, and how they influenced the energy around them. It was subtle work, delicate and precise, and any mistake could have catastrophic consequences. Suddenly, the hum from the device intensified, and Kieran froze. "Something's moving," he said, eyes wide. "Sensors are picking up multiple energy signatures. They're approaching the ruins." Lyria's ears flattened, and her tail flicked rapidly. "They are scavengers. Machines. Not alive. Sent by another species. Far from here. They are attracted to the device's energy." Kieran's mind spun. These were not the peaceful explorers he had hoped to meet. They were aggressive, mechanical scavengers, capable of destruction. "How many?" he asked, trying to keep calm. "Enough," Lyria said grimly. "And they will not stop until they have drained the device's energy." Kieran's pulse quickened. He looked at the glowing ruins around them. There had to be a way to protect the device. And then an idea sparked in his mind. "Your tail, can it send signals fast enough to create a kind of shield? Something to repel them temporarily?" Lyria tilted her head. It could, but it will take coordination. You must amplify the signals while I control the pattern. One wrong move. I understand, Kieran said firmly. Let's do it. They began the delicate process. Lyria's tail moved with practiced precision, curling and flicking to create a pulsing wave of energy. Kieran monitored the sensors, adjusting the field output, amplifying the signal without disturbing the device. Light rippled through the chamber, the walls glowing as if the ruins themselves were alive. Minutes passed like hours. Then, from the horizon, a low rumble reached them. The scavenger machines had arrived, their metallic forms glinting in the moonlight. They advanced slowly but relentlessly, emitting mechanical sounds that echoed through the crystal forest. Kieran's heart pounded, but he focused on the task. Lyria's tail movements became faster, more precise, and Kieran matched the rhythm with his adjustments. A glowing barrier formed around the device, faint at first, then stronger, repelling the scavenger machines. They hit the barrier and stumbled back, confused by the unexpected resistance. "It's working," Kieran shouted, barely above the roar of the machines. Lyria nodded, her tail flicking with renewed energy. "Hold it steady. Don't let the signal drop." The scavengers tried again, battering the energy shield, but Kieran and Lyria maintained their rhythm. Slowly, the machines began to withdraw, unable to penetrate the living barrier. The forest was silent again, save for the hum of the device and the steady pulse of Lyria's tail. Kieran exhaled, relief flooding him. "We did it," he said, though he knew it was only temporary. The scavengers would return, and the device's energy would continue to attract attention. Lyria's tail twitched thoughtfully. "You have potential," she said. "Most humans would panic, but you adapted quickly, understood the pattern." "That is rare," Kieran smiled, feeling a deep sense of pride. Humanity's strength was not in brute force, it was in adaptability, ingenuity, and the ability to learn quickly. Today, that strength had saved the device, and perhaps the planet itself. But even as he savored the victory, he could not ignore the bigger picture. The scavengers were only the first challenge. If the energy of Lyris Prime continued to attract outsiders, the planet could be in danger on a scale he could not yet imagine. And the ancient device, so powerful, so delicate, would remain both a blessing and a target. Lyria turned to him, her eyes serious. "Tomorrow, we go deeper. We must interface directly with the device, learn to control it fully. Only then can we ensure Lyris Prime's safety." Kieran nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. The challenge ahead would be greater. But he knew that humans were capable of extraordinary things when faced with impossible odds. Together, with Lyria and the Vulpine, they could protect this planet and perhaps uncover secrets that could change humanity's understanding of life in the galaxy. As the twin moons rose higher in the sky, casting their silvery light across the ruins, Kieran felt a renewed sense of purpose. Humanity had always been explorers, seekers of knowledge. Here, on Lyris Prime, they had a chance to prove that ingenuity, courage, and collaboration could overcome even the most alien challenges. The hum of the ancient device echoed through the chamber, a reminder that the planet was alive, watching, and waiting. And Kieran, for the first time, felt that he was exactly where he was meant to be, on the edge of discovery, adventure, and a future that belonged not just to humans, but to all who respected the delicate balance of life in the stars. The sun had barely risen over Lyris Prime when Kieran and Lyria prepared to descend deeper into the ruins. The previous day's encounter with the scavenger machines had shown just how fragile the balance of the planet was. Every step toward the core device was a calculated risk, and yet, the curiosity and drive to protect it outweighed any fear. Kieran adjusted his field scanner, checking the energy readings, while Lyria moved ahead, her tail swaying lightly, sensing the vibrations of the ancient structures beneath them. "The deeper we go," she said, "the more unstable the energy will become. We must keep the patterns precise, or the device may react unpredictably." Kieran nodded, recalling the delicate synchronization needed to repel the scavengers. The tail's biofeedback had saved them, but it was clear that a more permanent solution was necessary. He glanced at Lyria, noting the intensity in her amber eyes. "We'll be ready," he said. "Whatever comes." The ruins stretched on for miles, twisting corridors of glowing stone and suspended crystal platforms. Ancient carvings lined every wall, depicting scenes of a civilization long gone, creatures unlike any Kieran had seen, using energy in ways that defied comprehension. He couldn't help but marvel at the technology. It seemed organic, as if it had grown from the planet itself. "This civilization was advanced beyond imagination," Kieran whispered, tracing a hand along a carving. "They didn't just build machines. They integrated them with life." Lyria's tail twitched. "Exactly. That is why the device can only be controlled by beings attuned to the planet. Those who do not respect it, or who are too rigid in their thinking, will only cause destruction." Hours passed as they navigated the labyrinth. The hum of the device beneath the ruins grew louder, vibrating through the stone floors and walls. Kieran's scanners picked up irregular energy surges, confirming that the scavenger machines were still attempting to locate the device. They were not far behind. Suddenly, the ground shook violently, throwing Kieran off balance. He grabbed a nearby crystal pillar, steadying himself, as a deep rumble echoed through the chamber. From the shadows ahead, the scavenger machines emerged, their metallic bodies reflecting the luminescent light. They moved with precision, scanning for energy sources, and it was clear they would not stop until they found the core. "We have to move faster," Lyria said, her tail lashing in agitation. "The energy here is stronger, but the patterns are more complex. One mistake could destabilize the entire system." Kieran followed her lead, adjusting the portable amplifier they had brought. He had spent the previous night analyzing the tail's signals, learning to anticipate Lyria's movements. It was challenging. Every flick of the tail had multiple effects on the device, but he was beginning to understand the language of energy that she spoke fluently. They entered a massive chamber at the heart of the ruins. The walls were etched with intricate circuits that glowed faintly, connecting directly to the device at the center. It hovered slightly above the ground, suspended by a faint field of energy, pulsing in rhythm with Lyria's tail. Kieran could feel it resonating through his body, a subtle vibration that hinted at both immense power and delicate balance. "This is it," Lyria said, positioning herself near the device. "We need to stabilize it fully. If we fail, the energy could overload, affecting the entire planet." "You are ready to assist me?" Kieran took a deep breath. "I am. Let's do this." The process was meticulous. Lyria's tail moved in precise patterns, sending pulses of energy into the device. Kieran adjusted the amplifier, matching the frequency and amplitude of the tail's signals. Slowly, the device responded, its glow intensifying but stabilizing instead of surging uncontrollably. For a brief moment, it seemed as if the ruins themselves were alive, reacting to their combined efforts. Kieran marveled at the synchronicity, human ingenuity paired with Vulpine biology, creating a harmony that no machine alone could achieve. It was a perfect example of HFY. Humans adaptable, resourceful, and capable of learning from alien life to achieve the impossible. But their moment of triumph was short-lived. A loud crash echoed through the chamber as one of the scavenger machines forced its way inside. It moved aggressively, its sensors scanning for energy. Kieran and Lyria exchanged a quick glance, knowing that the device could not withstand a direct attack. "We have to protect it," Kieran said, already moving to adjust the energy field around the device. Lyria's tail flicked in rapid sequences, sending a concentrated pulse toward the intruder. The machine staggered, its sensors disrupted. But it continued to advance. Kieran realized that sheer power would not stop it. They needed strategy. He scanned the chamber and noticed a series of smaller energy nodes embedded in the walls, ancillary stabilizers that could be activated remotely. "Follow my lead," he said. "If we channel energy from the nodes into the device, we can create a shield strong enough to repel it." Lyria nodded, her tail moving faster, coordinating with Kieran's adjustments. They worked together, the hum of the device growing into a resonant roar as the shield enveloped it. The scavenger machine slammed against the barrier, sparks flying, and for a moment, it seemed as if it might break through. Then, with a final surge of synchronized energy, the shield pulsed outward, pushing the machine back with force. It retreated, damaged and confused, disappearing into the shadows of the ruins. Kieran and Lyria exhaled, their bodies trembling from the strain of controlling such immense energy. "That was too close," Lyria said, her tail curling around her legs as she tried to steady her breathing. Kieran nodded, wiping sweat from his brow. "But we did it. Together." The chamber was quiet again, save for the steady pulse of the device. Kieran approached it cautiously, running a hand over its surface. He could feel the energy coursing through it, alive and responsive. It was unlike any technology humanity had ever encountered. Lyria moved closer. This device was built to protect the planet, not just regulate energy. It was designed to respond to life itself, to those who respect the balance. That is why it reacted to your touch yesterday. You approached it with curiosity, not fear or greed, and it recognized that. Kieran smiled, feeling a deep sense of connection. Humans had always been explorers, seeking knowledge and understanding. Here, that same curiosity had allowed him to interact with a living machine, to communicate in a language of energy and motion. It was a reminder that humanity's greatest strength was not in brute force, but in adaptability and intelligence. But there was no time to linger. The scavenger machines would return, and the ruins themselves were beginning to shift, reacting to the device's heightened activity. Crystalline formations along the walls began to pulse, casting moving shadows that seemed almost alive. Kieran realized that the ruins were not just a home for the device, they were an extension of it. A living system that required careful navigation. "We need to secure the device fully," Lyria said, her tail swishing in a determined rhythm. "There are more layers beneath this chamber, more nodes we must connect. Only then will the device be stable enough to resist external threats." Kieran followed her, moving carefully through the pulsating corridors. Each step required focus, as the energy field fluctuated subtly with every movement. He adjusted his portable amplifier, fine-tuning the signals, while Lyria's tail guided the flow. Together, they formed a rhythm, a human Vulpine duet that brought the ancient device closer to stability. Hours passed. The energy nodes were activated one by one, each requiring precise coordination between Kieran and Lyria. The scavenger machines were relentless, attempting to breach the outer defenses, but the duo's combined efforts created a dynamic shield that repelled them at every turn. Kieran's understanding of the tail's signals grew with each node, and he began to anticipate Lyria's movements instinctively. Finally, they reached the last node, deep within a chamber that seemed to hum with ancient power. Lyria's tail twitched rapidly, sending a concentrated pulse into the device. While Kieran amplified it with perfect timing, the device responded with a brilliant surge of energy, stabilizing fully. The hum softened, becoming a steady, reassuring rhythm. They had done it. The core device was secure, fully interfaced with the tail's biofeedback and Kieran's human ingenuity. Lyris Prime's energy was balanced once more, its systems humming in harmony. Lyria exhaled, her tail curling around her legs. "It is done. The device is stable, and the planet is safe for now." Kieran smiled, exhausted but exhilarated. "We did it together, humanity and Vulpine working as one." Lyria nodded, her eyes reflecting admiration. "Your species has potential. Your curiosity, your adaptability. It is rare among outsiders. You have proven that humans can be allies, not just observers." Kieran felt a swell of pride. Humanity had always sought to explore, to understand, and to adapt. Here, on Lyris Prime, that same drive had saved a planet and earned the trust of an extraordinary species. As they emerged from the deepest chamber, the ruins seemed to glow in appreciation, the energy harmonizing with the rhythm of life. Kieran realized that this was only the beginning. Lyris Prime held more secrets, more challenges, and more opportunities for humanity to prove its ingenuity. For now, though, he allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. They had faced impossible odds, overcome them through intelligence, courage, and collaboration, and emerged stronger. Humanity had shown its strength, not through weapons, but through understanding, creativity, and the ability to work alongside other species. The twin moons reflected in the luminescent rivers, casting silver light over the ruins. Kieran glanced at Lyria, her tail flicking contentedly, and knew that together, they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. The scavenger machines might return, the planet might still hold dangers, but humanity's ingenuity and its willingness to learn from the universe would always be a force to reckon with. And so, as the hum of the device echoed through the ruins, Kieran felt a profound connection to the planet, to the Vulpine, and to the potential of humanity itself. The adventure was far from over. But for the first time, he understood that humans were capable of greatness, not just on their own worlds, but among the stars. The ruins were quiet at first light, but Kieran knew better than to let the calm fool him. The scavenger machines were relentless, and Lyris Prime's energy pulse was still a beacon across the system. The planet itself seemed to hum with anticipation, aware that another challenge was coming. Kieran adjusted his scanner, checking the energy readings from the device, while Lyria moved ahead, her tail swishing rhythmically as if communicating with the ruins. "We are near the final layer," Lyria said, her voice calm but firm. "The deepest chamber is directly below. The device will interface fully there, but the risks are greatest. One mistake could trigger a planet-wide disruption." Kieran nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. Humanity had come far in exploration. But this was beyond anything he had faced. The device was not just technology, it was a living system intertwined with the planet itself. And yet, he felt ready. He had learned from Lyria, adapted to her signals, and proven that human ingenuity could work in harmony with alien biology. As they descended a spiraling stair carved from luminous crystal, the hum of the device grew louder, vibrating through the walls and floor. The ruins seemed alive, responding to their presence, shifting slightly, as if guiding them toward the core. Kieran marveled at the design. Every structure, every energy conduit, every channel of light seemed purposeful. It was a civilization's wisdom, encoded into the very stone of the planet. "Stay focused," Lyria said. "The scavengers know the core is near. They will attack again, and this time they may use the environment against us." Kieran gripped his tools tightly. "Then we will need strategy, not just power." As they reached the final chamber, the device came into view. It was larger than before, suspended by fields of glowing energy, its surface covered with intricate carvings that pulsed in rhythm with the planet's life. Kieran could feel the energy radiating outward, brushing against him like a warm wind. Suddenly, the chamber shuddered violently. From the shadows, the scavenger machines emerged, more numerous than before. Their sensors glowed, scanning the energy, and they began to converge on the core with precision. Kieran's pulse quickened, but he refused to panic. He glanced at Lyria, who was already in position, tail moving in complex sequences, sending waves of energy toward the device. "We need a combined approach," he said. "I'll amplify your signals and reroute energy through the surrounding conduits to create a layered defense." Lyria's tail flicked sharply, almost in agreement. And together, they began the delicate process. The energy from the device spread into the walls, floor, and ceiling, forming a protective lattice that shimmered like a web of light. The scavengers struck, their metallic bodies slamming into the energy barrier. But they were repelled, unable to penetrate the combined human-Vulpine shield. The battle was relentless. Sparks flew from the scavenger machines, the chamber shook with each impact, and Kieran struggled to maintain synchronization with Lyria's signals. He realized that brute force alone would not be enough. The key was precision, timing, and adaptability, qualities humans excelled at when combined with careful observation and quick thinking. He noticed small structural weaknesses in the chamber, points where the energy lattice could be reinforced. Adjusting his amplifiers, He directed energy toward those weak spots, creating a stronger barrier. Lyria's tail moved faster, responding instinctively to the changes, sending pulses that harmonized perfectly with Kieran's adjustments. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. Finally, with a coordinated surge of energy, the device emitted a brilliant pulse that expanded throughout the chamber. The scavenger machines, unable to withstand the combined field, faltered and retreated, slipping back into the shadows from whence they came. The ruins fell silent once more. Kieran exhaled deeply, muscles aching from the strain of concentration. He turned to Lyria, who allowed her tail to curl around her legs in relief. "It is done," she said softly. "The device is fully stable now. The planet is safe, and the core will no longer attract these outsiders so easily." Kieran smiled, a mixture of exhaustion and triumph. "We did it together, humanity and Vulpine working as one." Lyria's amber eyes reflected admiration. "Your species has potential. Curiosity, adaptability, and courage, these are traits that are rare. You have shown that humans can be more than explorers, you can be protectors as well." Kieran felt pride swell within him. Humanity's strength had always been intelligence and creativity. Here, those traits had saved a planet and earned the trust of an extraordinary species. It was a reminder that true strength lay not in domination, but in collaboration, empathy, and the willingness to learn. The chamber pulsed softly, the device now resonating in harmony with the planet. Kieran ran his hand over its surface, feeling the gentle vibrations. "It's incredible," he whispered. "Alive, yet so precise. It's unlike anything humans have built." Lyria nodded. "It responds to respect and understanding. Those who approach with fear or greed will fail. But you approached with curiosity and care. That is why it accepted your assistance." Kieran realized the truth in her words. Exploration was not about conquest or control. It was about understanding, adaptation, and forming bonds. Humanity had learned much in its history, but the galaxy demanded more than survival. It demanded collaboration and respect for the life forms they encountered. As they made their way out of the chamber, Kieran glanced around the ruins. The crystal walls shimmered with a soft glow, as if acknowledging their success. The hum of the device blended with the sounds of the forest outside, creating a melody that spoke of life, harmony, and resilience. Outside, the twin moons reflected in the luminescent rivers, painting the forest in soft silver light. Kieran watched as creatures moved quietly among the trees, sensing the renewed balance of their home. It was a moment of peace, but also a moment of reflection. Humanity had arrived on this planet as outsiders, yet they had proven that intelligence, courage, and empathy could bridge the gap between species. Lyria approached him, her tail flicking gently. "There is still much to learn here," she said. "The device is stable, but the planet holds other secrets, other challenges. Will you continue to explore with us?" And Kieran smiled, feeling a sense of purpose stronger than ever. "Yes. Humanity has always reached for the stars. Now, we can do more than explore. We can protect, learn, and grow together." Lyria's tail swished in approval, and for a moment, the two of them stood quietly, listening to the hum of the planet. Kieran felt a connection not only to Lyris Prime, but to the future of humanity itself. They had faced danger, solved impossible problems, and emerged stronger. The scavenger machines might return one day, and the planet might still hold unknown threats. But for now, humanity had proven its ability to rise to the challenge. Not through force, but through intelligence, adaptability, and collaboration with beings unlike themselves. Kieran reflected on the journey. From a simple curiosity about a sensitive tail to the stabilization of a planet's core device, every step had tested his ingenuity, courage, and patience. It had been a reminder that exploration was never just about discovery, it was about responsibility. And humans, when guided by curiosity and empathy, could rise to meet any challenge the galaxy presented. The sky began to change as the twin suns of Lyris Prime rose, casting long beams of gold and silver across the forest. Kieran felt hope swell within him. Humanity was capable of greatness, and the galaxy was vast, full of wonders waiting to be understood and protected. Lyria turned to him one last time before they departed. "Remember this," she said softly. "Curiosity is a gift, but it must be paired with understanding. That is how life thrives, and that is how we can survive among the stars." Kieran nodded, feeling the truth of her words. He had learned more than he could have imagined, and he knew that humanity's story among the stars was only beginning. Together, human and Vulpine, they walked back toward the forest, leaving the ancient device to pulse in harmony with Lyris Prime. The adventure was over for now, but the bond forged through collaboration, trust, and ingenuity would shape the future of both species, and perhaps the galaxy itself. For Kieran, the lesson was clear. Curiosity, guided by intelligence and empathy, was humanity's greatest strength. The galaxy might be vast and unpredictable, but humans had the ability to rise to its challenges. They were explorers, learners, and protectors, and with every challenge overcome, they proved that humanity deserved its place among the stars. The forest shimmered in the light of the rising suns, alive, vibrant, and secure. And for the first time, Kieran felt that the universe was not just something to be discovered, it was something to be nurtured, respected, and protected. Humanity had not only survived, it had risen to the occasion, and the galaxy was a better place for it. And somewhere deep within Lyris Prime, the device pulsed gently, a quiet heartbeat echoing through the planet, as if acknowledging the humans who had touched it, not with greed or fear, but with curiosity, courage, and the willingness to understand. Kieran smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment unlike anything he had ever known. The adventure had tested him, challenged him, and taught him the true meaning of exploration, and he knew, without a doubt, that humanity would continue to rise, to learn, and to thrive among the stars.